If your toddler doesn't look at you when you're playing peekaboo, or doesn't turn around when you call their name, you might feel worried. And you know what? That instinct matters. Today, I'm sharing 10 subtle early signs of autism that most parents overlook, because catching them early can truly change your child's life. Hi, I'm here to walk you through a guide written by a pediatric occupational therapist, someone who works with children every single day and understands development from the inside out. This isn't about labeling your child, it's about awareness. It's about giving you the tools to observe, understand, and take action if needed. Autism spectrum disorder can show up in many ways, and not all signs are obvious. Between 18 months and 2.5 years, your toddler is developing critical social, communication, and play skills. And sometimes the most important clues are the smallest ones: the gestures they don't use, the eye contact that's missing, the way they play alone instead of inviting you in. So let's go through these 10 signs together. Remember, seeing one or two of these does not mean your child has autism, but if several of these sound familiar, it's worth discussing with your pediatrician. Early intervention can be life-changing. Sign number 1, eye contact in play. Let's start with something simple but incredibly telling: eye contact during play. Imagine you're playing peekaboo with your toddler. You cover your face, then reveal it with a big smile. What should happen? Your child should look at your face, not just giggle at the blanket or the game itself. They should be checking in with you, sharing that moment of joy. Now, if your child keeps their eyes glued to the toy, the object, or the blanket, and never looks up at your face to restart the game or share the fun, that's a red flag. Typical toddlers use eye contact to connect. They want to see your reaction. They want you to know they're having fun. If that back-and-forth visual connection is missing, it's worth noting. This doesn't mean your child never makes eye contact. It means they're not using it socially, to engage, to invite, to share. Sign number 2, sharing interests. Here's another one that's easy to miss: sharing interests. Let's say your toddler sees a dog outside. A typically developing child will point at the dog, then look back at you to make sure you're seeing it too. It's like they're saying, "Mom, Dad, look at that." They want to share the experience. But if your child points, or doesn't point at all, and never checks to see if you're looking, that's concerning. It's called joint attention, and it's one of the building blocks of social communication. Some children with autism will point at things they want, like a snack on a high shelf, but they won't point just to share something cool or exciting. That difference matters. One is about getting a need met, the other is about connection. So ask yourself, does my child try to show me things just because I think I'll find them interesting? Do they look back to see my reaction? If the answer is rarely or never, take note. Sign number 3, using gestures. Gestures are a toddler's first language. Before they can say full sentences, they wave bye-bye. They clap when they're excited. They reach their arms up when they want to be picked up. They point at what they want. By 18 months, most toddlers have a toolkit of gestures they use naturally and consistently. But children on the autism spectrum may use very few gestures or none at all. Maybe your child doesn't wave bye-bye. Maybe they don't shake their head no or nod yes. Maybe they never blow kisses or clap along to a song. These aren't just cute milestones, they're communication skills. And here's the thing: some children with autism will pull your hand towards something they want instead of pointing. That's called using you as a tool. It's functional, but it's not social. There's no eye contact, no shared meaning. So take a mental inventory. What gestures does your child use? How often? And are they using them to communicate with you, or just to get things done? Sign number 4, responding to gestures. Now let's flip it. It's not just about whether your child uses gestures, it's about whether they respond to yours. If you wave at your toddler, do they wave back? If you point at a toy across the room, do they follow your point and look? If you open your arms for a hug, do they come running? Typical toddlers are little mirrors. They pick up on your social cues and reflect them back. But children on the autism spectrum may not respond to your gestures at all. You wave, they don't wave back. You point, they don't look. You smile, they don't smile in return. This is about social reciprocity. It's the dance of back and forth interaction. And when that rhythm is off, it's a sign that something might be different in how your child is processing social information. Try this at home. Wave at your child from across the room. Point at a toy and see if they look where you're pointing. Offer a high five. Notice what happens, or what doesn't. Sign number 5, responding to name. This one is huge, and it's one of the earliest red flags. By 12 to 15 months, most toddlers will consistently turn around when you call their name. Not every single time, they're toddlers after all, but most of the time, especially in a quiet environment. But if your 18-month-old or 2-year-old doesn't respond when you call them, even though their hearing has been tested and is fine, that's concerning. It's not that they can't hear you, it's that they're not tuned in to social communication in the same way. Some parents describe it as feeling like they're in their own world. You say their name and it's like the sound doesn't register. There's no acknowledgement, no turning, no eye contact. Now, if your child is deeply focused on a toy or activity, they might not respond immediately. That's normal. But if this happens repeatedly in different settings and they rarely or never respond, that's a pattern worth discussing with your pediatrician. Sign number 6, language development. Let's talk about words, because language delay is one of the most common reasons parents first seek help. By 18 months, a typically developing toddler should have at least 3 to 6 words they use consistently. By 2 years old, they should have 20 to 50 words and be starting to combine them into 2-word phrases like more juice or daddy go. But what matters even more than the number of words is how they're using them. Are they using words to communicate with you, to share ideas, to ask questions? Or are they just repeating things they've heard, like lines from a TV show, without really understanding? That's called echolalia, and it's common in children with autism. They might repeat your question instead of answering it, or they might recite entire scenes from a favorite video, but struggle to tell you they're hungry. Also, listen for conversational tone. Even a 2-year-old should have some back and forth rhythm in their babbling or speech. If your child's language feels flat, robotic, or scripted, that's another clue. And if your child isn't using words at all by 18 months, or if they lose words they used to say, please talk to your pediatrician. Early speech therapy can make a world of difference. Sign number 7, sharing excitement. Here's one of the sweetest and most telling signs. Sharing excitement. Picture this. Your toddler is playing with a toy car. Suddenly, they make it go really fast and crash into a block tower. What should happen next? They should look up at you with a huge grin, as if to say, "Did you see that? Wasn't that awesome?" That's called social referencing. It's your child checking in with you to share a moment of joy or surprise. It's the foundation of connection. But if your child never brings you things to show you, never looks up to see if you're watching, never tries to pull you into their world just for the sake of sharing, that's a subtle but significant sign. They might be perfectly happy playing alone. They might not seem distressed. But that lack of invitation, that missing spark of, "I want you to see this," is what we're looking for. So notice, does your child share their wins, their discoveries, their little moments of joy? If not, gently start inviting yourself into their play and see how they respond. Sign number 8, pretend play. By 18 to 24 months, toddlers start to enter the magical world of pretend play. They feed a stuffed animal with a toy spoon. They make car sounds while zooming a truck across the floor. They put a doll to bed and say night-night. This kind of imaginative play is a huge developmental milestone. It shows that your child understands symbols, emotions, and social roles. But children with autism often struggle with pretend play. Instead, their play tends to be very literal and repetitive. They might line up cars in a perfect row over and over. They might spin the wheels on a toy and stare at them for minutes.
They might open and close a door repeatedly, fascinated by the motion. There's nothing wrong with repetitive play sometimes. All kids do it. But if that's all your child does, and they never expand into pretend scenarios, that's concerning. So watch how your child plays. Do they pretend? Do they mix things up? Do they imitate things they've seen you do? Or is their play rigid, repetitive, and focused on parts of objects rather than the whole? Sign number 9. Copying actions. Imitation is how toddlers learn. They watch you brush their teeth, and they grab their toothbrush. They see you clap, and they clap. They hear you say, "uh-oh," and suddenly that's their favorite phrase. By 2 years old, toddlers should be little copycats. They mimic your actions, your words, your facial expressions. It's adorable, and it's essential for learning. But children with autism often don't